Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are an SDET QA engineer or someone who is preparing for SDET interviews or DevOps interviews, this video is going to be super useful for you. Today, we are going to understand release engineering strategies that every SDET should know, like canary release, rolling deployments, blue-green deployments, feature flag-based deployments, explained in a simple real-world way. These are not just interview topics, these are the real production survival skills. So if you want to think like a release engineer, and test like a pro, make sure you watch till the end. Yeah, so we'll proceed with the first question. What is the role of an SDET as a release engineer? Maintain the ownership of CI/CD pipeline. So we need to make sure that the pipeline fails for real issues only. If there are any, like you can say, failures issue related to the timeout of the pipeline, the code is not getting deployed onto the environments. So we need to make and control the ownership of these things. Maintain release quality as an SDET, right? You need to maintain and ship quality releases only. So you need to monitor the automation test, monitor the failures over there. We need to check automation stability, product feature. Our test, right, should be pointing out to product feature or bug only, not the test bug. So if a test is failing due to some weights are not happening in proper place, some stale element effects exception which is there, or some other exceptions or some test failure, right? So we should be sure that it should not be failing due to that. Rollback readiness. So once we deploy the code, right, if there is any issue or a failure, so we should be able to roll back within minutes or within seconds, not within hours, right? So we should make sure that the rollback readiness is there. Monitoring the logs and alerts. So this is one of the important thing. After deployment to production, our job is not over. We need to monitor the logs or alerts for a healthy amount of time, like 30 minutes or 1 hour, to make sure that the feature is working fine or not over here. And then accordingly, we need to communicate with the product owners or the stakeholders. How do you handle flaky test in release pipeline? So first we identify the root cause of failure over here. What is the root cause? Maybe due to some race conditions, it is due to some exceptions, timeout issues, whether we are running the test in headless or head mode, right? We need to identify that. Quarantine flaky test. So if a test is flaky, we should mark it as in Playwright. We have an option like test.skip or test.fixme. You can add that annotation over there. In test.ng, we can add a tag like at a flaky or JUnit, we can add a tag that is flaky over to the test, and we should quarantine the flaky test. Do not block the release if the tests are failing. If a test is failing due to what you can say failing, then we need to check that flow manually. If it is a P0 release, right? If it is an important release and the test is failing, we should check that test manually. And if it is passing functionally, then only we can proceed with the we can say deployment. If it is failing due to some product or a bug issue, or like a product or a feature issue, then we need to log a bug. If it is a P0 bug, then we need to fix the bug and then only proceed with the deployment. And if it's a P4 or P3 issue which is not that impacting, then only we should proceed with the release pipeline going ahead. Don't ignore or mask the failure, fix them and take the ownership. As I said, right, many times what happens is we just ignore the failed test cases and we just functionally test it, and then this process goes on and on. So we should not do that. We should identify the failures. We should maintain a sheet of the failure test cases. We need to tag the relevant persons who is working on them and let them take the ownership of it and fix the test cases. As I mentioned, we need to track the flaky and the failure tests. So that we need to do. What is gating, right? So gating is nothing kind of like, I can say, a gate over there. So this will happen once the code is deployed onto the develop environment. The code is deployed on the staging environment, UAT environment. That of things are called as a gate. So a condition that must pass, like an automation test should run when it is deployed onto a develop stage, right? Like a lighthouse test, right? After the production deploy is done, or do a image comparison between the UAT or the prod, right? With Percy, you can do that. After the code is deployed onto the develop environment, there is a stage, right? Post deploy staging state over there. We need to run the automation pipeline. So we should trigger an automation pipeline if it is there, and we should pull that pipeline. If we get a success feedback from that pipeline, then automatically we should approve the release and move ahead. After that, that trackability should be there, and it should be sent to a Jira ticket or to a Slack channel mentioning that this tests are failing. This is the condition of a pipeline which is there. So we need to ensure that the gating is working fine or not. how release pipeline can be designed. So there is a release pipeline which a DevOps will be designed. So they will just build a code. Then we need to have a develop on deploy on the develop stage over there. After the code is deployed onto the staging environment, we should run our automation test. Once the automation test is successful, then we need to promote it to the staging environment. Same stage, okay, we will deploy the code onto the staging environment, run our automation test. If everything is good onto the staging environment, like there are particular test will be there for the staging environment. If they are good, then we should approve the release. So the approver name should be attached to the Jira ticket or to the Slack channel to for the ITGC compliance, or for the what you can say, there are reviews which will be going on, right? So we should make sure that the approver name is added to the Slack or Jira ticket, and then once everything is stable and it is working fine, then we need to deploy on prod. How do you handle fail releases in production? So the first step is we need to first roll back to the previous version. So if the version on the master is version 10 and we are deploying a new version that is version 11, so we should roll back to version 10 over there and make sure that the backward compatibility is working fine over there. So we need to roll back, turn off the feature flag. If the feature is beyond the feature flag, just we need to turn off the feature flag, so our new code is not accessible to the other users. Hotfix is needed. If the hotfix is needed, so the code has going pushed to production, and there is a small fix which we can do. So we need to ship the hotfix via release pipeline. So we should make sure that the hotfix is going to the automation test, and then it should be deployed to the production. Communicate the process to all the stakeholders. As I mentioned, right, we need to communicate entire things, the details of the release, what happened due to the fail reasons as an RCA. To the stakeholders. Find the RCA and share it with the stakeholders in Slack or team channel. So yeah, we need to make sure that we publish the RCA to the entire org or the team which we are working with. So the RCA should have what was the issue, the timings at what the issue was identified, at the timings at what the issue was fixed, and we should, if our issue was occurred of like 7:24 p.m. So we should notify the timestamp at that issue, and then we fix that issue up around like 7:30 p.m. and the release went at 7:35 p.m. and everything was stable. So we need to make sure that RCA has been published, and we take it as a learning over here. So now the next step is how do we prevent these issues going ahead? So we will get a learning out of this, right? So we should make a note of it, and we should not make sure that these things don't happen again and again. If it is due to a test miss, right? So we need to document that test. We need to write the test cases into our test studio, and then make it as a part of regression. We should automate that test, and we should make a part of a regression pack, and then we should run it. So the same issue will be prevented going ahead, and we should be in a better condition.